Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and that is no lie. Now, the organizers of the conference asked me to speak to you today about a world where we would have no lies. Imagine that, a world with no lies whatsoever. And I thought to myself, well, that's pretty easy, actually. We all know honesty is the best policy, right? I mean, just look at the political election in America last time around, the honest and sincere and far-reaching political debate we had. Actually, it turns out a world with no lies would never exist. But I happened to find one, and I thought I'd show it to you right now. Let's take a look.
That was incredible. Is it good for you?
I've had better.
Hi.
Hi.
New in the building?
Yeah, I just moved in Monday.
Oh, you like it so far?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's been real nice.
Well, that's because you have big jugs. I mean, your boobs are huge. I mean, I want to squeeze them. Mama!
Human beings lie all the time. Trust me. Now, there's such a thing as a good lie, a white lie, a smart lie. I mean, we'd never get through the coffee line at Starbucks if it weren't for those. You know that barista at Starbucks, the one who makes your coffee? I mean, do you really think she's not faking it when she pretends it's perfectly cool for you to order a low-fat triple-shot decaf caramel macchiato with extra whipped cream and no foam? She hates you. But she smiles, she nods, she calls out your drink like you are the most non-absurd, non-anal retentive coffee drinker she's ever met. Why? Because she knows what researchers have long known, that deception is critical to our survival. It's critical to our evolutionary survival. Without deception, civilizations would falter, as we just saw. Now, I know everyone here really wants to make a difference. You want to contribute to our civilization's evolution. And I know you're really, really busy as well. So I thought I would help you hone your deception skills today. So I thought what we'd do is we would teach you how to be a great liar in 6 easy steps. And we're going to start with step number 1. Step number 1 is to find a good role model, like maybe a former leader of the free world.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
Now, look, if a former leader of the free world is a little high up there for you, pushing it a little bit for your role model, maybe find a former member of the clergy or a well-known football coach, or perhaps a leader of a smaller country like Italy. Find a good role model. That's step number 1. Step number 2, shoot within range. Let's see what happens when you don't shoot within range.
Recent polls have shown 1/5 of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
Okay, now when I showed this video last weekend to my husband, I said, see, honey, even beautiful can sometimes be hard to look at. Now, we all watch this video and we kind of cringe. We sort of think, oh my gosh, thank God I'm not from South Carolina. And believe me, this made South Carolinians cringe. It's really, really hard to embarrass somebody from South Carolina, let me tell you. But you think, I'm not from South Carolina, thank God. At least I know where South Africa is. But the truth of the matter is that everybody in this room, all of us, are so much more like Miss South Carolina than anybody wants to admit. Why? Because when we bluff, and that's a fancy word for lying, when we bluff, studies show that the cognitive load is so high on our systems when we're trying to think what to say, act spontaneous, appear composed, not pee-pee in our pants, that we leak, so to speak, verbal and nonverbal indicators of deceit. So while we all looked at that video and we said, oh my gosh, it was funny, we kind of cringed as we watched her kind of fall all over herself. A trained deception detector would have looked at that very same video and said, huh, asymmetrical shoulder shrug, flashes of lip smacking, multiple detour statements, micro-expression of sadness in the eyebrows, micro-expression of fear in the cheek muscles, duping delight, false smile at the close. And that's the lexicon of deception detection. That's the language of deception detection. It's about learning to break down much, much more subtle interactions than this one into their component parts and to observe verbal and nonverbal indicators of deceit. So stay within range. Shoot within range, or the cognitive load will be so high on your system that you're going to leak verbal and nonverbal indicators of deceit. Now, step number 3. Do not blather on about your truthfulness. Don't go on and on saying, I absolutely swear to God on my mother's grave, I didn't do it. Don't pepper your account with a little too much detail in order to appear authentic. Don't go on and on and on. We're going to look at Jeff Skilling, the former head of Enron, one of the largest bankruptcies in America, in the world actually. We're going to watch him testifying before Congress. Now here, Representative Ed Markey is blathering on a little bit, but watch this video. Now, Jeff Skilling spent $40 million preparing for this moment, this particular testimony. He didn't even know the 6 steps. Take a look.
Wasn't Ms. Rockins really correct that you were abandoning ship on a day that you already knew, as she did, that this company had deep problems, that you had already identified them, and you were just walking away without warning investors, without warning employees, without telling everyone what the real reason was that you were quitting Enron?
Congressman, I can just say it again. On the date I left, I absolutely, unequivocally thought the company was in good shape.
Absolutely, unequivocally, do not overemphasize your truthfulness. Now, step number 4, be spontaneous. Researchers have long known that it's only the first few seconds after a really hard question is asked. That's the only scientifically reliable information to look at. So let's say you're having a conversation with somebody and they're trying to figure out whether or not you are being deceptive. Now let's just say they're a trained deception detection professional. They're going to ask you some softball questions. They're going to say, how was your weekend? Did you go shopping? Did you go skiing? How's that funny little wart on your arm? Now, I'm sure this comes as no surprise, but the trained deception detection professional does not really care about that wart on your arm. What that person is doing is they're baselining you. They're asking you softball questions. They're trying to get a reliable reference point for measuring changes later when you're going to tell your real whopper. They're norming you. They're baselining you. What are they doing when they're baselining you? Well, they're looking at certain things. They're looking at your blink rate to see if it's going to change. They're looking at your fidget patterns. They're looking at things like your posture to see if you have postural changes. They're going to look at your hand, your leg gestures, the tone and vocal cadence of your voice and your laugh. Now, when they start to ask the really hard questions, that's when they're going to be looking for those shifts in behavior. The other things they're going to be looking to see if you do, because remember, this step is about being spontaneous, is they're going to make sure that you're not going to repeat the question to stall for time. Certainly don't want to see you looking down, slumping, lowering your voice, trying to kind of unconsciously exit, maybe even leaning towards an exit. Make sure that you don't shift your posture. Change those anchor points, the things that anchor you towards the ground when that really hard question is asked. That's what they're going to be looking for. They're also going to be checking to see if you're going to leak facial expressions associated with deception. We know from well-known researcher Paul Ekman that many facial expressions that flash across the place really, really fast can sometimes be associated with deception. Now, they're very hard to control. But we know, for example, that contempt, though not proof of deception, is very highly associated with deception. It's also associated with moral superiority. Here's what it looks like. It's marked by one lip corner pulled up and in a dismissive sneer. And in the presence of contempt, be very, very careful. You're going to break rapport with the person that you're talking to. So you want to make sure, don't leak that expression of contempt. You also want to curb the duping delight, that unconscious smile at the delight in getting away with it. Highly, highly associated with deception. We're going to take a look now at Herman Cain, who was kind of booted out of the last presidential election early on under accusations of a long-term extramarital affair. Watch this video now and tell me if you see the duping delight.
Did you have a 13-year affair with this woman?
No, I did not.
Did you know her for 13 years?
Yes, but I did not have an affair, okay?
Do you suspect she has any evidence, emails, letters, gifts, anything that she will be able to bring to try to confirm this?
Wolf, no. That's,
No.
Look, when you've done nothing wrong, no, I mean...
Okay, I think you all probably saw that there. Last step, important one. Show an appropriate level of concern for the person that's asking you those questions. Now, Phil Houston, who ran the CIA's Deception Detection Training Program for 25 years, says that when duping delight and an inappropriate level of concern are coupled, are together in someone's expression, highly, highly associated with deception. We're going to take a look now. This is former married Congressman Anthony Weiner. Well, actually, he's still married. He's no longer congressman. We're going to look at him as he attempts, this is kind of an incomprehensible thing, but he is here, he is denying to a gaggle of reporters that are kind of pummeling him, this is a press conference, he is denying tweeting a photo of his private parts across the country to a 19-year-old follower. Now, I know it goes without saying, but it's not a very good idea to tweet, text, email, even etch-a-sketch a photo of your privates in this day and age. That's not lie-spotting advice, I know, but it's not bad advice nonetheless. Now, watch this video. It is kind of incomprehensible. Watch as he actually starts bragging about the spike in volume to his Twitter feed.
No to that question.
You're very good at.
You're not following her on Twitter. Say no to the
why
question.
Why don't you let me do the answers and you do the question?
As soon as you answer the question asked you, sir, we will.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
You follow an awful lot of young women on Twitter. Is there a reason that you have so many ladies that you're following?
By the way, in related news, I have in the famous hashtag Scrappy Chasing Crazy, I passed Michelle Bachmann today, the number of Twitter followers. I will give you that additional fact.
Is that a result?
Okay, so you know the 6 steps. Now you know how to be a great liar in 6 easy steps. Let me just say in conclusion that while we are almost certainly liars, hopefully we are low-stakes liars, benevolent liars, the kind of liars that do so only out of compassion and caring for the people around us. So if you come across one of those high-stakes liars that's mastered those 6 steps, be courageous, have the difficult conversation, signal to that person that your world is going to be an honest one, and only share those 6 steps with someone that you trust. Thank you.
Pamela, One question, just.
Oh.
I want to make you a question.
Okay.
Why should we believe you if you are an expert in lying?
Because I am absolutely, I swear to God, on my mother's grave,
Bravo!
an expert.
Thank you very much.